Chapter 7. Joe limped back to the front desk and met Michael and Eric there. Eric was busy with a guest. When he finished, he said, "I noticed you have a little bit of a limp, Grandpa. What happened?" "Just a little car accident," Joe said. "But you don't have a car, Grandpa." "She does," Joe said, pointing toward Katie's room. "Oh, I see," Eric said. "You know, there are easier ways to meet women. I'll try to remember that." "So, what do you think of her, Pops?" Michael asked. "Katie? She's okay." "Just okay? You told her your secret after one day. She better be more than okay." "I didn't have much choice. She saw me get better. She's a reporter. She said she would investigate me if I didn't tell her." "A reporter? All the more reason to keep your mouth shut," Michael said. "I think you wanted to tell her. I think you see something special in her." "Nonsense. I mean, I like her, and she's attractive, but so are a lot of women." "You've got to stop living like this, Pops. You can't keep pushing women away. When was the last time you had a serious relationship?" "You haven't. Not since Grandma died, and that was over 20 years ago. Now you live like a hermit in that cabin of yours." "I do not live like a hermit. You don't know what you are talking about." "Really, Pops? I understand that Grandma was the love of your life. I get that. You think having a meaningful relationship will somehow diminish what you two had together. It won't. You can love more than one person." "Yes, but the love of a lifetime only comes along once," Joe said. "How would you know that, Pops? You've never given love a chance. You have been given this wonderful gift of youth, and you squander it." Just then, Katie walked up to the counter, and the conversation stopped. "Did I interrupt something?" she asked. "We were just discussing relationships," Joe said. "Perhaps you have some advice you would like to share." "I'm the wrong person to ask for relationship advice. I can tell you from experience what not to do. That's about it." "So, are you planning on hitting the slopes while you are here?" Joe asked. "I'm really not much of a skier. Perhaps you could show me the ropes if your leg is up to it." "I don't think it is healed enough yet. Perhaps we can go out tomorrow morning if you are still here." "I can't get the window fixed until tomorrow afternoon." "Okay, great. Tomorrow it is. Right now, I bet you are getting hungry for lunch. We have a restaurant here at the resort that is fantastic. Can I take you there?" "That sounds wonderful, Joe. I am feeling a bit hungry," Katie said. Joe whispered something to Eric before coming around to meet Katie. He held out his arm, which Katie took, and led her to the restaurant. When they arrived, the hostess sat them at a small table near the window. A few minutes later, Eric met them at the table with 2 glasses and a bottle of champagne. He poured the champagne and said, "Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. I will be your waiter this afternoon." Katie laughed and said, "Eric, you're a waiter too?" "I do a little of everything around here, Miss Katie. Give me a minute. I have one more thing for you." He returned with a cupcake that had 1 burning candle stuck in it. He set it in front of Katie as several of the restaurant staff arrived at the table. They all sang happy birthday to her. When they finished, Katie smiled and said, "That was great. Thank you all so much." She blew out the candle, and everyone clapped before returning to their duties. Katie looked at Joe and said, "I assume you had something to do with this." "Maybe a little." Katie leaned over and kissed him on the cheek. "That was very nice of you." "Happy birthday, old lady," he said. "Thank you, old man." Katie opened her menu, and Joe said, "The prime rib is awesome here." "Okay then," she said. "I'll get the prime rib." "You can't," Joe said. "They only serve it for dinner." Katie playfully slapped Joe with her menu and said, "Thanks. You've been a great help. Seriously, though, I like the mushroom Swiss burger for lunch." "Okay, that sounds tasty. Unfortunately, they only have that on Saturday." Katie slapped him with her menu again and said, "Will you stop?" Eric returned and asked if they had decided what they wanted. Katie said, "I'll have the mushroom Swiss burger." "I'm sorry, Miss Katie," Eric said. "That's only available on Saturday." Joe started laughing, and Katie slapped him with her hand this time. "Did you put him up to that?" Eric laughed and said, "I'm sorry, Miss Katie. I overheard you two and couldn't resist. I will put you down for a mushroom Swiss burger." "I can tell you two are related," Katie said. Joe told Eric he would have the same thing, and when Eric left, he said, "So I want to hear more about you. How did you end up as a reporter or news personality or whatever you called it?" I grew up in a small, rinky-dink Wisconsin town on the Mississippi. We were about as far from anything interesting as one could get. I wanted out, so I went to college in Milwaukee. When I graduated, I got a job at a Milwaukee television station. I was an intern at first, but gradually became an on-air personality. The problem is, I can't get the opportunity to do real stories. Why do you think what you do is not real? Joe asked. It's real, I guess, but it's not important. I mean, who cares about the city's biggest cookie or the bar that pretends to be an import company? Those both sound interesting, Joe said. Do you know why I don't have a television? I did several years ago, and mostly only watched the news on it. After a while, I realized that almost all the news was bad, and most of that bad news was unnecessary to know. Does anyone really need to know about the dictator on the other side of the world or the murder that happened on the other side of town? The kind of stories you do are the only stories worth watching. You think reporting the bad news will somehow make you more important, but I disagree. You, Catherine Kowalczyk, single-handedly keep your news station from totally sucking. Katie laughed and said, "That was a great speech, Joe, but reporting the bad news pays better. You should do what you feel passionate about. Never put money above passion. You will regret it. Unfortunately, Joe, in the real world, money is important. Money is important up to a point. You only need enough money to survive comfortably, and you can make that money doing what you are passionate about." I'm sorry, Joe, but I'm not passionate about human interest stories. I need something that will challenge me mentally. Well then, perhaps an investigative reporter position will be right for you. If that is the case, I hope you get what you want. Thank you, Joe. I hope so too. What about friends? Joe asked. What do you do for fun? My best friend still lives in my hometown. I make it back there 3 or 4 times a year. I have a couple of friends from work, and sometimes we go out, but I mostly hang out at my apartment when I'm not working. I'm probably a bit of a hermit like you. I'm not a hermit. Why does everyone keep saying that? Okay, Mr. Sociable. When did you last leave your cabin to do something fun with another human being? Well, I don't know. It wasn't that long ago. Really? What did you do? Who were you with? Joe stumbled on his words. I don't know. I can't remember. You must have had a really good time if you can't remember, Katie said. Okay, you win, Joe said. Let's just say I like spending time at home. Just then, Eric arrived with their burgers. He put the plates down and said, I hope you enjoy, Miss Katie. That was fast. Thanks so much, Eric, Katie said before he walked away. Katie took a bite of her burger and said, this is good. Stick with me, kid, and you can't go wrong, Joe said. You can probably eat like this every day, and it doesn't bother you, Katie said. I wish, Joe said. I need to watch my diet just like you. That's surprising after what I have seen you do. I'm lucky, in a way, because I can tell what nutrients my body lacks. You are lucky in more than one way, but can't all people do that? I mean, if I crave something salty, doesn't that mean I need more salt? It is supposed to work that way, but the unconscious mind can be fooled. For example, have you ever craved a jelly donut? Who hasn't? Katie asked. When that happens, do you think your body is deficient in jelly donuts? Well, since you put it that way, I suppose not. It is your unconscious mind mistaking want for need. Essentially, it is an addiction like heroin. Are you saying sugar is as addictive as heroin? Of course not. It's more addictive. I try to avoid sugar and eat healthy food as much as possible. It is how I am able to stay this good-looking. Katie had just taken a bite of her burger, but spat it out when she laughed. I'm sorry, but you really know how to make a girl laugh. You mean you don't find me attractive? Joe asked. I think you are quite handsome, Joe, but you already knew that. I find you quite attractive as well, Katie. There was an awkward moment of silence, and then Katie said, I'm really glad I ran into you. I mean, I'm not glad I ran into you. I'm sorry I ran into you. I guess what I am trying to say is I'm glad we met. I know what you mean, Katie, and I'm glad we met too. When they finished lunch, they returned to the front desk, and Joe said, I know something you might like to do. Grab your coat and meet me out front in 5 minutes. He walked behind the counter, picked up a set of keys, and disappeared through a door in the back. The thought of a surprise excited Katie. She thought it foolish, but couldn't help feeling like a child on Christmas morning. She quickly retrieved her coat and waited outside for Joe. Joe showed up on a snowmobile a few minutes later. He handed Katie a helmet and a pair of gloves. He said, "Put these on and get on." Katie put on the helmet and gloves, climbed onto the snowmobile, and put her arms around Joe's waist. "I've never been on a snowmobile before," she shouted. "You're kidding," Joe said. "I thought you were a Wisconsin girl." "I have no excuse," Katie said. They were soon on a trail that wound through the woods as it gradually gained altitude. They passed a couple on another snowmobile going in the opposite direction. Katie could see the trail was well worn with tracks and assumed this was a popular place for snowmobiles. "We rent snowmobiles at the resort," Joe said. "Some people like it better than skiing." As the next turn came up, Joe hit the accelerator, and Katie screamed. Slow down, she said. "You're going to give me a heart attack." Joe slowed the snowmobile and laughed. "I think you've been living in the city too long." They wound their way up the trail until it leveled out. Joe pulled over to the side and stopped. He stepped off and held out his hand. Katie grabbed it and got off. Without letting go, Joe said, "Come with me," and led Katie through a group of trees to a clearing. From there, they could look down on the ski resort from over a mile away. "It's beautiful," Katie said. "Our mountains here are nowhere near as high as those in Colorado, but I wouldn't trade this view for the world." "I can see where you would get your inspiration for your photography." "You should see it in the fall," Joe said. "I would love that." "Are you inviting me back?" Katie asked. "I would be happy to see you anytime, Katie. Just tell me when you are coming so I can avoid checking my mail that day." Joe laughed, and Katie slapped him on the arm. He winced in pain, and Katie said, "Oh my God, I'm sorry. I thought your arm was better." Joe laughed and said, "I got you." She tried slapping him again, but Joe jumped back, and she missed. She chased him through the woods, and when they almost reached the snowmobile, she stopped and said, "Hey, your limp is gone." Joe looked down, felt his leg, and said, "What do you know? It's better." "Well, I guess you don't need me anymore," Katie said. "There are different kinds of needs," Joe said. He studied her face momentarily and asked, "What is it that you need, Katie?" Katie hesitated momentarily, then walked toward the snowmobile and got on the back. "I think we should head back." "Did I say something wrong?" "No, you've been wonderful. It's me. I'm a mess. I don't know what I need. I don't know what I want. I don't know where my life is going. I certainly don't want to drag you down with me." "You need time to think," Joe said as he got on the snowmobile. "I'll take you back, and if you want to talk, I'll be here." They drove back to the resort, and Katie said she wanted to be alone to rest, so they said their goodbyes and agreed to meet the following morning. This audiobook continues on the next video. For more information on this book and others by this author, please visit charleshuss.com.